How often do you end up in that sort of conversation with your customer where you're sort of, are we ready yet to launch, and what more work do you have to do as a customer to get ready? And what's their reaction?
Yeah, it's always tied to the goal, right? Like if they have a very broad goal, like they want this chatbot to answer everything about their business, then they're gonna have a much higher bar, I guess. And then we're gonna have to make sure that their data sets are really, really, um, I would say, comprehensive. But we've had customers that have said, "Oh, yeah, we realized after testing it that maybe we didn't have good content around everything, so maybe we'll dial it back and just focus on certain service lines or just focus on certain business units because we know our content there is really strong and we have a lot of confidence in our data sets for those types of products or services, but maybe these over here we're not quite ready for, so let's spend a little bit more time with those." And that actually is a really good conversation to have. I would say most of our customers are very open to that and really appreciate that we bring that point of view to the table.
Yeah, it has to be that has to be helpful. It's also kind of interesting. I mean, so from their perspective, right? They're corporate innovators. They're trying to do something new and probably pretty exciting, right? I mean, there's real bottom line impact, but this is also just kind of cool. There's I have to imagine that there's something of a gap that you run into between what is aspirational and what people hope and want your technology to be able to do, and what is maybe realistic, right? The state of the art today, the state of the data sets today, et cetera. Do you find yourself having to kind of handhold or navigate your customers through that?
I feel like it's getting a lot more understood just because we're evolving as I guess, as a country, maybe, or as a technical kind of set of professionals around these things. Um, and as they start to experience the product and see how it works for them, they can quickly see it, right? So we have this concept of a knowledge base where they can just point all of their documents and all of their URLs, say, into this knowledge base that gets essentially configured into a document collection for the AI. They can see it right before their eyes coming together. It all happens pretty much, I would call it automagically, right? In the application, they can see their data sources, they can see their content sources, and they can see the chatbot running against those content and data sources. And they can very quickly see, oh, wow, I have a lot of really good stuff. This is going to perform well. Or, oh, it looks like we have some gaps. Let's go and fill those. But because they can see it and they understand, like, hey, this is their own source material that we're talking about, they know very quickly, like, okay, where are we here? And it's so gratifying, or I would say visual to them, and immediate, that they can almost immediately identify if this is going to work or not with their data set. And we even created like what we call the AI playground, where they can just go in and just, without doing a lot of effort, kind of test their data sets and see, is this going to work or not? And that way they don't have to, spend a lot of energy on it if it's not going to be useful.
That's awesome. So in the world of the sort of the modern day world of LLMs, Chat GPT, et cetera, how has that impacted your customers' expectations or perhaps their optimism about what might be possible?
Well, it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? On the one hand, it's great because it has people are using this tool. It's much more consumable, and so they have a better grasp of how AI works. On the other hand, because it has a tendency to deliver incorrect answers or to hallucinate, some people may have tried it and said, oh, no, no, this is not for us because it makes mistakes. And so we have to show them how, yeah, that's true in the way that you're using ChatGPT in those types of applications. But let me show you how our product has really hardened against it and why our customers are using it in these particular use cases. So in a sense, I would say the net is it's helped us, right? We just have to help them see that there is a path forward for accuracy, security, and privacy that doesn't compromise their data, doesn't put them in a risky position when they use our product, because we've built the scaffolding necessary to make that viable, to make the use of LLMs viable in those scenarios.
Awesome. So how do you as a company stay connected to kind of the state of the art and the state of what's possible in a fast changing world?
I mean, partnerships and industry kind of being plugged in. So, as an example, we are a Google for Startups company. Google gave us a grant last year. They were very impressed with the way that we had handled the hallucinations problem, how we had hardened against privacy, around privacy, security, and accuracy in a way that they had not even been able to do very well on their side. And so they gave us a grant, which is kind of a non-dilutive investment in Botco.ai. And then they plugged us in, right? They gave us early access to a lot of their technology, to their teams. In fact, tomorrow they're covering my expense to go to Google I/O.
Awesome.
They're giving me like behind the scenes type of access that most people don't get who attend that event. And so I get to see some of this content or this information before it hits the market or before it hits the broader world. And just, it's by virtue of that we've done something really special and the industry has acknowledged it, that we get kind of this early view into what's happening before it gets released. But I would say that's the main thing, is having these conversations and just staying really, really plugged in with the kind of, big leaders in the industry.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear you say that. I think there's something to be said for simply being part of the conversation these days. Like that's such a weird amorphous statement, right? We're used to researching and reading and trialing and hacking and like, spin up replets, whatever we're doing. But there is something to be said for just being part of the conversation and listening to what the builders are concerned about or asking, what the buyers are hoping for. Um, and
Mhm.
I think that's actually underappreciated in today's world, especially given the pace of change. Google I/O is going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm heading there tomorrow.
That's amazing. So, okay, so you've talked a little bit about sort of having to work in regulated environments, having to control hallucination, security, privacy, accuracy. Out of those, what's the hardest for your team to stay on top of? Is it privacy controls and ensuring compliance with GDPR regulations that probably are already out of date? Is it that hallucinations because you're playing around with new LLM models?
Oh, I would say hallucinations is the hardest to keep up with. Privacy and security, I mean, it's something that you constantly have to be updating the product for, but I would say that's like a once or twice a month update. Hallucinations is like a once or twice a day update. So that just gives you a sense of how much more frequently that landscape changes for us. So it's like we're building on this like very shifting, like you said, surface, and we think we got it, and then everything changes underneath us, so we've got to do it again, right? And so what this has created in our system and in our organization is kind of a fluidity and I would say, detachment from the status quo, because we never know, nothing is ever done, right? We know that this is just done for right now, but tomorrow we may have to redo it, and that's okay. That's just the way the world works now. And so it was just a shift in the mental kind of framing that we had around development, that was really important for our team to grasp. And I feel like that's going to be the biggest, just organizationally, if you step back, like what organizations are going to win in this world and which organizations are going to flounder. I think it's the ones that know how to adapt very quickly. And I'm talking,
Yeah.
you know, magnitudes of orders of magnitude much quicker than anything we've had to adapt to in the past. Organizations that are rigid, that are slow, that have slow decision making, that are kind of set in their ways, they will become extinct very quickly because they're just not going to be able to keep up with how fast things are changing today.
Oh man, preaching to the choir. I'm gonna start bringing you into the corporate innovation workshops I do, just like with that talk track. Like honestly, like nothing is ever done in today's world. Like I feel like that might end up being the title of this episode because it's so true, right? That is the world we live in today.